Looks like I finally got you to come back to the green box, bro.
Man, it's not even like that, bro. I've just been busy, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. Whatever you say. But today we got the comic creator Bill Mcscifi McCormick on the
Oh,
show.
that's cool. That's the creator of Legends Parable and Marcia's Marvels.
And that's right, man. And you know what's crazy, man? Nothing has triggered you to leave the show right now. Nothing. You really still here.
Man, that's the bet, man. I just be chilling, man. I don't know, man. I just be chilling and stuff just happen.
Yeah, man. That's what's up, man. Hey, let's go ahead and just bring him on the show.
But I'm sorry, bro. I don't even like the whole superhero thing, bro. I gotta go, bro. I gotta go.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
All right, welcome back to the hood. You know, this chilling with Greenbox with Specs Thompson and the View. And once again, the View's not here, but according to Bill, he got a real reason to leave this time. Like he said, he heard gunshots on his last interview, so the View had to go check that out. So this time, you're the reason why he's not in the show. But thanks for coming on anyway, man.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. This sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is, man. I try to be different than other podcasts and shows. I kind of felt like some shows, people just get on there and blab an hour, 2 hours about their Kickstarter or whatever, or it'd be 10 people on a stream, and nothing ever gets accomplished. So I decided to make this more casual, hence the term "chilling the green box." I'm not sure wherever you're from, you had the little electrical boxes in front of your house that y'all hang out on.
Well, we had them. We were not allowed to hang out on them. Our parents would kill us.
Oh well, I guess we had more lenient or non-observant parents, but typically, we just sit on there, talk, chill. Funny thing about it, now I'm thinking about it, most of the time there was a bus stop, so that's probably why we was be on there, because we had stand there in the morning time waiting for the school bus to come. So I guess it's like later on, on the weekends, whatever, we just go in the same spot. So maybe that's the reason.
It makes sense to me. Good habits and all that. Build them up.
All right. Well, introduce yourself to the people for a little bit, then we'll go on to the questions.
Okay, dokie. My name is Bill Mcscifi McCormick. The name Mcscifi came from an Amazon screw up where they lost all my books. That's a very funny story. We'll do it some other day. But anyway, I'm Bill McCormick. I'm a science fiction writer based in Chicago. I write novels. I write graphic novels. I write comic books. I'm in a bunch of anthologies. And today I think we're talking about comics and just all the cool stuff we've got going on there. And other than that, it's not much to say. I write stuff, people buy it, and I have a roof over my head. So I'm good to go.
Cool. Sounds good to me, man. In this show, I got 4 different segments. I do. So people can learn more about you.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Wait till you hear this question. I'm pretty good at these questions. So first segment is called Breaking It Down. Since your parents didn't allow you to chill on the green box, typically what you would do, you would chill on the green box with your friends and whatnot, and break things down, ideas, concepts, whatever y'all going through. But on this segment, I'm finna break your brain down a little bit so people get a better feel of who you are.
Okay.
All right. So my first question for you, I got what's your favorite thing about your team? And that could be any kind of team, you're involved in.
You mean a team that I belong to, or a team that I cheer for?
Yeah, like your favorite team, sports team, or your team of creators, or your work team, or whoever,
Okay, well, all right. Well, I'll go with team of creators. Brian Biggerline Daniel is the owner of Hadithi Sambaba Comics, and he and I crossed paths in 2016, and it has just been an incredibly productive relationship. In fact, I mean, we started out as 2 guys who barely knew each other at a coffee house, to him ending up standing up at my wedding and being my best man. So, I mean, that's a relationship that's worked. He's one of the reasons, and this is kind of a running joke, he's one of the reasons that nobody knows I'm white, because he's black, and the whole company, Hadithi Sambaba, for Christ's sake, it's an African name, means parallel stories. So it's like we've got all this stuff going on, and then there's me waving in the background. No, I wrote this. But It's what Brian and I have a tremendous relationship. We got a bunch of new stuff coming out this year. We're getting back into doing conventions this year. It's just an absolute joy to work with, an absolute pleasure to know, and makes my life better. I try and make his life better, and we try not to stress each other out over the small shit. And we get stuff done. He's a great guy to work with. So yeah, that's my team. I'll cheer that.
Cool. All right, next question. Who has been your most interesting, confusing, and or annoying neighbor?
Oh, that one's easy. I used to live in Fullerton and Pulaski in Chicago, which means nothing to you, but if you live in Chicago, it means everything.
Okay.
But I used to live there, and I had a guy who lived next door to me, and he was one of those Section 8 people who had medicine, and he needed to be off the streets, and that was cool. But he had this thing for playing Mighty Mouse music at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Here I come to save the day. 6 o'clock every freaking morning for like a year. And then somebody, I don't know, somebody somewhere turned him on to hair metal. So then it was all Poison and all that stuff, just like Poison, Guns N' Roses, Warrant, and all that stuff, just over and over. And then he went back to Mighty Mouse. And I was kind of grateful he went back to Mighty Mouse after a while. Not really a hair metal guy, but
I had a similar situation. I used to live in this trailer park, and my neighbor used to beef with each other. For some reason, I never understood why. But the white guy, he would turn his speakers facing the Mexicans' yard and play. I don't know, it was a soundtrack or what it was, but it's like 80s music. But I assume it was a soundtrack for Rocky. I don't know which one, but I assume it was that. Then the Mexicans would play their, authentic Mexican music, and they'll blast it at each other like two DJs, battling each other type thing. I'm like, what's going on? And it's funny, the white guy is like saying songs every order, so that's why I think it was a soundtrack.
We had when we first moved in here on the south side of Chicago, we had a neighbor across the street, a Mexican guy, and he would play Tejano music and Durango music on this 500-watt system that he had parked on his porch. So I mean, you could hear it for a mile. And then I was looking at it because he had it wired up through a couple of foghorn speakers that they have on tugboats and stuff like that. They weren't regular speakers; they were these things. And I'm like, that's not going to last. And sure enough, one night he had it going really cranking loud, and I was just about to go out and yell at him, and all of a sudden I heard boom, and the whole thing went up in flames. I'm like, never mind.
God works in mysterious ways, huh?
Yeah.
All right. My next question. You like this one? You'll like this one.
I've liked them all so far.
If you were a kitchen utensil, which one would you be and why?
Ooh, if you were a tree, if I were a kitchen utensil, I think I would like to be a spatula.
You like to flip stuff?
Yeah, I like to flip stuff. You can ask my wife about that. It's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I would like to be a spatula.
Okay. Do you cook? Do you even cook?
Oh yeah, I'm actually an excellent cook. I used to host a cookbook, an annual cookbook, in conjunction with the writers from Chicago Sun-Times, Tribune, The Defender, and MTV, and Sports Illustrated, and stuff like that. And it was we called it the Jay the Joke Comedy Holiday Cookbook. And what I would do is every year around Christmas, I'd give it away as a PDF. People could download it. Mm-hmm. And we did it at its peak. We would do 150,000 downloads a year on it. So,
that's what's up.
So I did that, and I am an excellent cook. I think my wife, she fell in love with me one night. We were sitting at her house and her parents' house, and we were just kind of stuck there. And there was like nothing in the fridge, and I whipped up this Northern Italian dish using cooked lettuce and steamed it and garlic and everything. She's like, "Where'd this come from? We have no food." I'm like, "Yes, we have. You just didn't know how to put it together, And it's like. And it was a delicious meal, too. It wasn't just like garbage I threw on a plate. And so she was really happy. And I make a lot of different stuff. I like to make a lot of Mexican stuff, a lot of Mediterranean stuff. I'm getting better at making Asian stuff. In our neighborhood, we just don't really have the ingredients to do that. But
So what's the difference between the Mediterranean food and Italian food?
Mediterranean food tends to be more grain-oriented, a little less oils, almost no pastas. You have it's a little more vegetable oriented. The meats, where in Italian food you tend to get the sausages and the meats and stuff like that. In Mediterranean you tend to get goat, lamb, other things like that. So it's different variety of stuff, you know.
Oh, so Italian food is like more stuff that you'll find more inland.
Yeah,
Okay.
and especially northern Italian, it's almost German food when you get up north. It's not quite as creamy, but you know, when you get up to Naples and stuff like that, it's you don't like southern Italian. It's called the red sauce Italian food. You know, so you got spaghetti and meatballs and stuff like that. Then as you go more north, it becomes more Germanic, more Teutonic. So you know, it's drifting away from the ocean, so they don't have as much ocean food. No, it's not like that.
It makes sense to me.
Both have seafood though. Both have a lot of seafood. So.
Okay. Well, that's the end of that segment. You know, a pretty good segment.
All right.
But now we're gonna go into your back issues.
Okay.
Now, being in comics, you know all about back issues. But for people,
yeah, that's why I take medicine so I can walk. My back hurts. I have back issues.
But yeah, for people who don't know what back issues are, if you want to find out about a character, if you want to find out about the Red Skull from Captain America, you're going to his back issues to find out more about his origin story, where he came from. So in this segment, we're going to go into your back issues, so we find out more about your origin.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right. So where are you from, and what do you call your hood?
That's kind of a complicated question. We're not. This is going to sound really weird. I don't know where I was born. Wow. So my hood is. I don't know. I grew up. I spent my early youth in northern Wisconsin, but I grew up in Melrose Park, Illinois, which is pretty much a predominantly Italian neighborhood. Went to a Catholic school there, Sacred Heart of Mary. Left home after high school, moved into Chicago, and I've been really much a Chicago kid ever since. I've lived in Andersonville, Logan Square. Now I live on the South Side. But I never really had a hood. I traveled a lot. I played with bands and stuff, especially in the late 70s, all the way into the 90s. And so, you know, my hood would be London. My hood would be Germany. My hood would be Tokyo. My hood would be wherever I hung my hat that night. So, yeah, like I know a lot of people, they grew up, they know their neighborhood. They've been in their neighborhood forever. That's not me. It's like, the first thing I did is I wanted to escape my neighborhood. I didn't really feel like I belonged there. And then as I, did other things, I was writing to entertain myself, and I was touring with bands and playing bass and guitar, sometimes keyboards. And I saw a lot of the world that way. So I think if you're going to narrow it down, I would say the world is my hood, because I've traveled around it. And I've met a lot of people, and I learned how to not do stupid stuff. You go meet people, you learn. I learned one thing. Everybody, no matter how different we are, everybody wants the same thing. They want a roof over their head, they want food on the table, and they want a better life for their children. There, that's it. That's it. If you can't grasp that, you're not allowed to play the game anymore. It's like, so that's it. The world's my hood. Okay. That's where I hang my hat.
All right, sounds good to me. All right. What was your first encounter or first genre of song music that had an impression on you?
First, I would have to say I'd listened to a lot of country and stuff coming up when I was growing up. But the first thing that actually just hit me like a hammer to the face was Black Sabbath, released like 1972 or 71. It was a record. I'd never heard anything like it. I'd heard the Beatles on TV and seen the Rolling Stones on TV. I'm old enough to have seen them the first time they came around. Mm-hmm. But that record, the Black Sabbath record, was like, what? It just floored me. I've been a fan ever since, and it forced me to start listening to other stuff. Actually, it's because of Black Sabbath that I got into P-Funk, because of Maggot Brain, Eddie Hazel. It was just like hearing people take guitars and do these really incredibly innovative things with them. It just turned me on to a whole different way of looking at music. So yeah, that'd be the record.
Okay. All right. What comic book or comic related TV show got you intrigued in comics?
A couple of things. Spider-Man was the comic book that got me hooked in. Related things is actually Thunderbirds, the puppet show.
Never heard that one.
Oh yeah, you got it. Thunderbirds are go. Do me a favor, look it up. You'll love it. It was late 60s Japanese-based puppet show that they translated into English, and they eventually started shooting it in America. It's about these guys who have rockets and stuff, and they can go all over the world and save people. And it's a typical action adventure show, but it's puppets. And I just thought that was so cool and so interesting. And the fact that they were able to, because they had puppets, they were able to tackle subjects that you couldn't really get to on TV, especially if you're a kid's show in those days.
Mhm.
You know, they could tackle things like Bob has a drinking problem. Carol likes to get to bed with too many men. John, he has, you know, and they're doing this with puppets, and I'm like, holy hell, yeah, bring me in, dial it in, Holmes. Yeah, trust me on that. Thunderbirds are go. You'll be an addict.
All right, I will do. Pretty sure it's on Tubi or something.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place. You can get it on YouTube for Christ's sake at this point. Yeah.
All right. So, with that being said, when did you find out that you're a nerd?
When I got married, my third wife. I mean, up until then, I mean, I hung out with biker gangs. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I toured the world with rock bands. I thought I was pretty cool. And then we were talking one night. And she's like, "Man, you're the biggest nerd I ever met." And I'm like, "Huh?" So I'm a nerd.
Yeah. I mean, talking to different creators, some would tell me like, "Oh yeah, when I was 5 years old, I was in kindergarten, you know, I found I was a nerd." Then some tell me like stuff like you did, like you found out earlier in life. But like I'm trying to put a pin on it because, ironically, maybe because how I present myself off the creators that come to me for for interviews, they're also something to do with music and comics. The majority of them, that's what it's being like you. So maybe that's a trend where I'm talking to people when we got the same type of thing going on. But with me, I grew up, you know, everybody, you know, with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Beyblade, stuff like that, until about like middle school, you know. Then after that, you know, I went into girls, you know, music, all kind of stuff like that. So a lot of people my age, they like, well, I like anime now, like hence the shirt, you know, but they know about Naruto. I didn't watch Naruto at all. I mean, I watched like the first season or two, maybe like that, but like 400 episodes, no, I didn't watch that because I was doing other things, so I missed that gap. So it tends to be like it's called a nerd gap. So I think I had a nerd gap. So I guess my adolescence, my teenage years in college as well, I didn't care, you know, I didn't do nerd stuff. So I guess I feel like I grew out of that stuff. So when I start like actually like be domesticated with, you know, with females and stuff, living in the house with them, then they'll say like, you kind of nerdy. What you do nerdy stuff, especially my fiance now, since I make comic books and all kind of stuff. But like, I never thought I was that guy, but amongst my friends, I was always with more technical person. Hence I DJ, so I knew about computer stuff. I knew how to hook this stuff up. I did music videos, so I know how to use the program stuff. So I guess I showed that I was, I won't say intelligent, but I was, I guess, like geeky and know how to do the stuff. But I mean, I never could, you know, I can do everything else. And this guy is, I can go, you know, do whatever, but I never see myself that way. So I think it's pretty fun.
I think that you and I are the same in that regard. It's like because I learned how to DJ. I worked in clubs and I worked on music videos, worked in the music business, and did a lot of stuff. And it's like, and it wasn't, and I didn't realize how big my gap was. You called it the nerd gap, and I think that's a great explanation. Because when I was young, and when I was even in high school and college, and through the years, I always ventured over to the nerdy stuff, but I was doing other stuff as well. So I just thought the nerdy stuff was kind of an addition to my life. But when we moved down the South Side here at the South Side Chicago Public Library by me, there were a bunch of kids there, and they had trouble with English. They were having trouble with history, and they're having trouble with stuff, and they couldn't afford to hire a mentor. So unfortunately for these kids, I'm actually good in those subjects. So I started talking to them about them and starting to help them with their homework, and I got their grades up. So yay point there. But as I was helping them, they started filling me in on like Pokemon and all that's way after my time. You know, you're younger than me. So they started filling me in on Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Naruto and all that stuff. And it turned out one of the big things down here in Southside Chicago, my whole building is black. And the big thing to do is for the kids to learn Japanese so they don't have to get the subtitles or the voiceover versions of the stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's nerd level alpha to learn a whole new language. And one young lady, she got so good at it that she ended up with a UN scholarship. And last I saw her, she was on a train headed to New York to to have a UN scholarship to be a language interpreter because she spoke. She was born in Haitian, so she spoke French, she spoke English, and now she spoke Japanese. That makes her a wanted commodity.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
all because she wanted to watch TV. You know, got a whole career out of being a nerd. So
Yeah.
you know, being a nerd has its advantages. You know, it has some really cool things. But yeah, in my case, it really wasn't until my wife started talking to me about what I like and what I'm into, and like I memorized every Star Trek episode ever done, and yeah, I'm a nerd. So.
All right. Yeah. So that was the end of that segment. So now we can go on to my next one. This one's a two-parter segment. Since you're into music, you're more familiar with this one, but it's called the hotkeys. So DJs, you know, they got certain buttons and certain marks, so they turntables where they can play a certain part of the song, a certain song, you know, to get the party going or whatever at a certain time. As well in comics, they have hotkeys. It's certain like treasure issues, you know, collectors want to get, you know, like first appearances, first time writers get on a project or artists or I guess a moment in time in comics, you know, they want to collect, you know, and get slabbed or whatever, or just frames. So in this segment, it's going to be talking points that, you know, we discussed earlier that you want people to know more about you and, you know, and hold in regard to you. Yeah. So we're going to dive into that. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask some questions. What kind of band was you in?
Oh God. I started out playing in punk bands, and then I moved over to funk bands because there's only one letter. That was really different. I've done some avant-garde chamber music where it's kind of 12/4, 12/7 timing in Asian chord patterns. No one's ever going to buy it, but we had a great time doing it. I've done some goth, done some metal. I did a lot in the early 2000s. I worked on a lot of EDM projects, dance music projects. I'm a co-writer on the Esma Kutovic program song album in Serbia that she just released. I did a lot of music, oddly enough, in the Latin music community, Nuevos Música Latinos. And I actually produced the Lefty Perez music video, Solceros Unidos, which became a hit in Miami and Puerto Rico, and led them to have a whole new career down there. So I've done anything with music, really. If there were instruments to be played, by the way, you've been muted. But if there were instruments to be played, I played them, you know, or I worked with them. I did something with them, and I love music. I love all kinds of music, you know. So I've played dusty old soul. I've played rock and roll. I've played, you name it. I've played it, you know, and I've had a great time doing it.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Like, so that's where you get your put your hat wherever, you know, mentality, bro. Because you been in whatever band needed you. Yeah. All right. So, why do you think people keep saying it's a death of indie comics?
Oh, people! I've been doing indie comics since 2016, and obviously, I'm friends with a guy named Jiba Malay Anderson, and he's got a series of comics called The Horseman that he's been releasing since late 1999. And he's been hearing it's a death to indie comics. And when I first started working with him on a couple other projects, it was a death to indie comics. And I think that it is because where the mainstream DC, the big ones, you know, DC, Marvel, Image, what have you, they can put out a comic a week. And if you're doing an indie thing, it's usually you and your little team. You can't be cranking out a comic a week, or even a month. You know, you're pushing it. So it always looks like, oh, you're never going to get the next one out. Oh, you're never going to do this. Oh, you're not competing in it. But if you step back and you take away the Marvel DC end of it, indie comics are really strong. I mean, I'm the assistant editor for ICC Magazine. We have 13,000 people who show up there every day to see what's going on in the indie comic community, where they can buy stuff, where they can do Kickstarters. You know, it's a very vibrant community. And by vibrant, I mean people are making money doing it. People are trading money doing it. Am I doing 100,000 copies a month or 20,000 copies a month? No, I'm not. But and very few people are. But there's there's still ways there to make money. There's still ways there to build up fan bases. And I know a couple of guys. I'm not gonna name drop them here because they don't have my permission, or I don't have their permission. But they do their comics and they got like 1 or 2 distributed by Diamond just so they could get that in there. And then they do all these cons and they sell 20, 30 issues. They have, these whole like 5 years worth of issues they can sell at cons now. And the indie comic community is, you got to be a little creative on how you sell stuff and how you do stuff. But once you get past it, I don't need to be Marvel. Once you get past it, I don't need to be DC. There's a whole world out there that's really exciting. And I get tired of people like, oh, that's so dead, or that's so, so yesterday. It's like, shut up. I'm doing well here.
Yeah. Yeah, by you saying it's a whole, people are scared or whatever, or don't know how to, sell. I see a trend on Kickstarter. People just want to sell on Kickstarter. You think people are scared of well, first, 2-part question. I'll break it down. You think people who do Kickstarter, right? They depend solely on Kickstarter. You think they are scared that the companies like Boom and Dark Horse are going to Kickstarter now and doing these $1 million funds, and think it's going to take away from their money?
Yeah, I think Kickstarters. I've done successful Kickstarters and I've done failed Kickstarters, and Kickstarter is not a reliable way to make your living. With very, very few exceptions. It's just not consistent. And I think the problem is that I see people, like you said, every issue they're doing a Kickstarter for. So their whole fan base has to come in with cash up front, which that's great, to make you feel more secure. But then there's no incentive for you. Like with our comic book Legends Parallel, for example, we've got it in stores in Michigan. We've got it in stores in Arizona. We've got it in stores around the country, and we ship it now to London and Germany. And we do well with it because we're not reliant on Kickstarter. We don't have to just keep shipping to, we're not just fulfilling backers. And I see that some of the numbers people talk about on Kickstarter, they're disingenuous because they never really count in how much it costs to print the darn thing. They're not really counting in shipping. They're like, we made $5. No, you didn't. You made about 75 cents when you get done with it. So, and that's fine, but you got to start being honest with yourself. Because I see these people and they believe they made $5. It's like my ex-wife. She came home and she goes, I saved $10 at the grocery store. No, you didn't. You spent $140. You could have spent $150, but you spent $140. Well, I'm out $140. I don't have $10. I'm down $140. And people don't look at it realistically like that. And there are some that do, and I've noticed a couple of people that did Kickstarters before have kind of weaned away from it and started going more towards, I got to sell these things. I'm going to go to conventions. I'm going to do different things. For one, your return on investment is actually a lot better because you don't have to pay a Kickstarter fee. You don't have to pay a lot of other things. Second of all, you tend to know what your expenses are walking in the door. So there's no mystery of how much you're going to have to come up with. And third, I think for me, especially, I don't like other people being in my business. And Kickstarter, that's very public. Here's all your money. Here's how much money you got. And people, they look at that and they go, wow, you made all this money. No, I didn't, because I've got all these expenses. But nobody gets that, So we'll probably do a couple more Kickstarters on different projects I'm doing just because people expect it. But it's not like I'm not a fan. I just wish there was different ways for people to do this. I think crowdfunding is a last resort, it should be a last resort, not a first, Yeah.
I think like the same thing that I said earlier. I think it's the people I'm around, because who I am, we got the same mentality. So with you saying that about Kickstarter, I believe it's the same. I feel the same way. I feel like I'm begging people, through Kickstarters to fund it. At the same time, I want to get away from it. But I think I might do a couple more. But like when I did Indiegogo, okay, it made sense, no matter what. Like if I make $100, I get $100. If I make 1,000, I get 1,000. It's not like, oh, I was $1 short, so I didn't get no money, so I went to Indiegogo. It was mostly friends and family, straight up. And I lost a lot of sales because they had to make an account and do all that stuff. but like I knew who I was working with, so I was like, yeah, just hand me the cash money or cash at me, PayPal me, or whatever. It's easier. Where I just add it to it. Who cares? So the second time around, I was like, let me do Kickstarter. You know, Kickstarter failed because the same people who did Indiegogo, they didn't come over to Kickstarter because Kickstarter is more in your business and you gotta verify the email and do all that stuff. So people didn't do it.
Yeah,
and
no, go ahead.
I have revamped how I did it. So there's like how I came on your show and stuff like that. Do Kickstarter. And the next one succeeded, but it was almost 100% different people. Now these people are comic book creators themselves, or people who buy stuff on Kickstarter. So then I seen like the difference of like this is a net. You just keep flying around. I don't understand, but it's a difference. So like even now, I think I started in 2019. So like what, 5 years? I don't know, bad math. 4 years in. My people are still who buy my book are not people who typically go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo stuff like that. So like it's hard for me to wing them in, to the Kickstarters. So I can do a pre-sale on my page, be like, oh, come get issue 5 on my page, and they'll go straight to my website and buy it, no problem, or pre-sale. Pre-order. If I do Kickstarter, they'd be like, I don't know, seems like a scam. They do that whole thing.
But, yeah. Oh God, do I know that? And until recently, I had a merchandise page on my website, and the only reason I stopped it is because right now, between shipping and cost of raw paper, I actually lost money on graphic novels because I'm sending out a 100-page graphic novel for $20. It cost me 17 to print it, and another 7 to sell it, mail it to you. Okay, that's 24. 24 is more than 20. So, and there's only so much I can charge people. I can't start charging them $30-$40 for this. It's just not worth it. So I just kind of stopped that for right now. I'm entering into a new deal with a new printer. It'll be done this summer, and we're going to get those prices back down, and then I'm going to open up the merchandise page again, because that for me, you can't really see it, but over here I've got shelves filled with comic books and novels and stuff like that I sell to people directly, and I'll even autograph it, throw it in a bookmark. I'm not a jerk. I try and be nice about it, and that to me has been my best way. Conventions have been my best way. This has been my second best way. Kickstarter's, that's a 50-50 thing with me. And I agree with you. You got to get people to come into it. And there are a lot of people, especially people my age, I'm 61. And so people my age, they want nothing to do with Kickstarter. They're like, no, that's where my information goes to die. And it sounds like it's the same thing with your friends. It's like, no, man, I don't need I don't need the man looking at my stuff. And, it's, so it is what it is. There are people who love Kickstarter. I haven't found them yet, though. If I do, then maybe I'll get on it a little more enthusiastically. But it's been an uphill battle. I mean, even the couple that I had that succeeded, I felt like I was banging my head against the wall, because you have to send out so much promo and you have to do so much that you're almost spamming your audience. I got a nice mailing list. I got almost 5,000 people on my mailing list. I don't want to be spamming them every couple of days on a Kickstarter. Yeah. So, just me though.
Yeah, I feel the same. So you do feel like creators don't want to leave Kickstarter because they got social anxiety or something? That's why they want to do cons? Or why do you think creators don't just go to cons? So I know my reason. I mean, my reason I been in my first con last month. Well, February. In February, my first con. I didn't set up, but I dressed as a view and went there and peeped the scene out. Next week, I'm going to another one. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm really peeping the scene out, see how it is, because money-wise, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, okay, I pay for this booth. I got to have all these comics, and I have to sell these comics. Oh, and plus hotel is out of town. I have to sell these comics. They make break even. If I don't, I just took an L for no reason. And everybody was telling me it's a networking thing and da-da-da, but it didn't make sense to me money-wise. Now, since I've been and seen, I know I can do a couple of things to balance out my fees, because I see what people are buying there. Like, they're buying more, like, anime stuff and, like, certain stuff. Like, people really wasn't going, like, oh, it's an indie comic guy over here. Like, oh, it looks pretty cool. They would talk to him, but they wasn't really like, okay, here's my money, take it. So I think if I had more stuff, like I had like anime sticker on there, and they probably spin an anime sticker, and I could probably like, oh, if you buy 3 stickers, I throw my book in there, something like that. I still give them my book, but also making money at the same time. So maybe that's what I'm gonna do. But like, what do you think other creators? You think they don't go to cons because of some other reason besides money? Because
that's a multifaceted answer. Yeah, money is obviously a big issue. You really have to learn how to budget. My basic rule of thumb is for every $1 I'm spending at the con, I have to be able to make $5 back. And that way, that's my cushion. So if I make $3 back, at least I know I've made all my money and I still have money to go home and eat on. Mm-hmm. I think a big part of it is the con world is a little different. Like C2E2 just happened, and here in Chicago. And the indie comics where they have Artist Alley, for example, there's almost everybody has their indie comics there, but everyone there, they're doing fan art, they're doing stickers, like you said, they've got something else they're selling to make money, and then they hope people will buy their comics, and that gets a little sad for me. But when you go to smaller conventions, and this I found to be very, very true. I go to library conventions, like I go to the one in Kankakee every year. You can make bank there because it costs you almost nothing to get in. It's like $30 for a table, and you're there for a couple of days, and you'll sell $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of stuff because you got the same amount of people, but now they're there dedicated to checking out new artists. They're there to check out new art, and that's the other thing though. To do that kind of stuff, you need to be more proactive as to where you're going to hang your hat, where you're going to put up your stands. Because I see too many kids, they just look at the big cons. They can't afford to go to the big cons. They don't want to compete against the big cons. So then they just don't go to any cons. And that's the wrong answer. The answer is find some closer local to you. Go to libraries. Have them. Every library, not every library, but a bunch of libraries in the state will always have different conventions, anime things. Some are geared towards kids. I made the mistake of going to one of those. The average age was 6 years old. I've got a comic book called Legends Parallel. It's got lots of boobs in it. Here you go, Sonny. No. Now I'd like to go to jail, officer. Thank you. But that was a mistake. But all right, that happens. My wife and I got a lovely dinner out of it with people we hadn't seen in a while, so that was nice. But you got to look around to where to do the content. There's some work to do that. We put into work. Brian, who I mentioned earlier, he and I look around all the time for stuff. We're always looking, where can we do this? We're going back up. We're going to be the 11th year at Motor City Black Age of Comics. And actually, that's another funny joke. That there's another company that thought I was black until I walked in the door. And there's a great picture. There's a great picture of 50 black creators. I'm standing in the back, 49 black guys in the front, and I'm waving.
That's funny.
It's like, and they're like, we all get along. I mean, hell, I go to dinner with half these guys now. We all love each other, but it was a little bit of a shock for them. It was like guess who's coming to dinner in reverse. But it was great, and we all get along. So now we're going back for the 11th year, and you got to put the work in to find the get one tier down, and so you can get more personal with people. You can build your mailing list. Trust me, building a mailing list is a great way to help sell stuff in the follow up. You can develop your fans who want to come see you. Before the pandemic hit, I actually had fans who would come to specific conventions when they wouldn't buy my stuff online. They would find out when I was going to be in their town and come there. Even if it cost them $5-10 to get in, because they knew they could come in, they could get their picture taken with me, and I'd sign something for them. It's a much more personal experience. It's a much more relatable experience, and it's a lot of fun. And people talk about the crowds. I've met several creators who talk about the crowds. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of people out there, but that's like going to the airport. There's a lot of people, but they're all over there. You're just with whoever you're with. It's your little group.
That's why I thought for me, I was always scared, like, coronavirus and the con crud. I always heard about the con crud, but
that's real. I got that once. Don't do that.
But no. So I've been going to local things. So I really caught the con crud from the local little venues I've been to. But I got young kids, and if I go, I have to take my kids because babysitters and my fiance, stuff like that. So when we went, so she was really reluctant to take the kids and go and say, go by yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not going to have you call my phone every 5 minutes. While I'm at the con, so just come with me, bring the kids. So going there, Oh, well, I seen the pictures of how things are because she's really reluctant because comics and stuff like reading out her thing. So she was like really reluctant to say, "Look all that crowds on the pictures." I was like, "Yeah, but this location, I've been in this location before for a concert, so like this place is huge. These people have to be in one general location. There's no way it's any people here to see freaking the voice of Vegeta,
Right.
on there." So we go and it's very spacious. We got the stroller of the kids, and it's very a lot of space. But like if you don't have the banners and the tables, you're not seen. Like
Yeah, no, you're right. My wife was. I'm a bit of a curmudgeon, but she's one. We need the banners, we need the table. So I bought towers, and they've got my Bill Mcscifi banner on the bottom of them, and these towers, and they stand up really tall. And I'm 6.5 feet tall, so these things actually tower over me. So when people are coming by, it's like you have to look up, and it's a wall of comic books and a wall of novels, and it's like it's a very impressive display. And everybody's got their own little thing. This works really well for me because I could stand in the middle of these two huge piles of books, and when people ask, and I keep the extra books underneath, so if people want to read one, they can grab one off the thing, read it, and if they like it, I give them a fresh one from the bottom, and it worked, and it's a good way to work. Everybody needs their own thing, though. But you're right. If you don't have something to draw people to your visually, if you don't have something visually to draw their eye to you, they're never going to see you. Absolutely never going to see you. A buddy of mine, he had a horrible table. He just couldn't get anything to work, and then his wife stripped down to a bikini. Suddenly, you got some people.
The way to
I don't know
magic, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if that worked for everybody. I'm a little surprised. She's kind of shy, It's like she's like, "No, I want to sell these comics." I was like,
Yeah.
You go, Martha.
Yep. That's dope. How do you feel about AI? You think AI is gonna ruin comics?
No, it's not. It's I have issues with AI, but they're more moral issues. As far as a tool goes, AI is a tool, a functioning tool. It's like when Photoshop came out. Oh, that's going to ruin art for everybody. When GIMP came out for the free version of Photoshop. Oh, now any idiot can do it. You're just going to see crap everywhere. You still need skills to use it. You still need abilities to use it, and it's another tool in the toolbox. I think the problem people have with AI is these people are going up there and they're like, I need to see Jenna Ortega in a bikini, and you get a picture of Jenna Ortega in a bikini, and they act like they've done something. And it's like my concern with AI now, as it is right now, is that it can only draw art. It can only create art from existing art. So you're not really creating anything. You're just taking other people's art and blending it into something new, which, it's kind of like mixing, I guess, but it's still not creating anything new. But if it can give you something to work with, and using Photoshop or using your manual skills or using whatever, that you can embellish that or include that into something, a larger project, then I'm interested. Right now, AI is not ready to. It's nowhere near ready to take over a comic or try and do a comic book. And the amount of I saw one guy did it, and he's like, he took him 24 pages. I think it took him about 2 years to put the whole thing together, and and then he went and got a copyright for it, which then got thrown out when they figured out exactly what he'd done, because you're using other people's stuff to create this. So you can't copyright. You can't copyright. I can't take my SPECKS THOMPSON stuff, throw it on my wall, and go, "Look, Bill McCormick did this." No, I didn't. I don't care whose name I write on the bottom. It's still SPECKS THOMPSON stuff, and that's where AI is at right now. It's a tool. It's like a reference tool. It's like if you use body models, or if you use sculptor models, or you use 3D rendering models. It's a tool, but you still have to do a lot more to make it worthwhile and make it work. I saw something recently that a guy was experimenting with using AI to create backgrounds and then doing his characters over the backgrounds, and that looked kind of cool. That was something interesting, and I'd like to see how he goes with that, because there's no way to copyright a landscape from Utah. That's just Utah. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's doing and whether or not it's a limitation to him or if it's something that's going to open up new possibilities for him. But right now, one of the few things I've seen where someone's using it correctly without infringing on anybody else's rights.
Yeah. Two issues I got with it. The voice one. I feel like the voice ones will get people in trouble.
Yes.
so right now I see trends of people just talking, just it's Donald Trump talking on AI, but like let's say he's smart enough to say, oh, them voice recordings, they got me saying this, that's AI voice recordings. So now he's out of jail, so
Yeah.
like, or I start saying, oh, I got unreleased music of Michael Jackson, and I start dropping all kinds of songs using Michael Jackson voice, but it's really me singing, but it's Michael Jackson voice, so I get all kind of records, where's the line drawn at with that? Same thing with the chat box that I can say I got a new J.R. Tolkien book and it's in his style,
Well, I'm always reminded, you may be too young to know this guy, but there's this producer named Dr. Dre. And
I'm very clear.
way back in the day, that he had a running joke that he sampled Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Bands, and because it was sampled, he could release it because it was new. It was his art, and obviously that was bull. But it was his way of saying, you still have to create something yourself. Yes, you can use chat box as a tool. Yes, you can use. I'm actually a member of what's called Notion.io. It's a artificial intelligence tool for writing. And I've used it. I actually wrote a blog with it. It's a great way for me. I put stuff in and it says, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? That's fine. It's still me doing the input. Now it becomes my assistant. It's like me having a secretary going, Mr. McCormick, did you really want to call the gentleman in Wonton complete flaming mullible? No, you're right. Let's just say we disagree. But it gives you a pause while you're writing, and I like that. It's something I'm enjoying very much. But yes, artificial intelligence, people are just throwing stuff into it and getting garbage in, garbage out. And that's where we're at right now. It's a wild, wild west. But things, it's like everything else. Like I said, with Photoshop. Oh, with Photoshop, they're going to be able to put anybody's picture into anything, and everyone's going to look, a Photoshop expert, and I actually am one, can look at a picture and go, nope, the shadows are wrong. This is wrong. That's wrong. This is Photoshop, you call it out right away. I've only seen one that actually made it through. Like a bunch of different experts couldn't figure it out that it was Photoshop until somebody pointed out that the background was in 1 year and this guy died 3 years before. Oh yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. But it's really, you can do stuff in a style of and do this and do that. And I find that as an intellectual exercise to be stimulating and interesting. Like you said, Tolkien, especially in the multi-language things, Chatbox is never going to handle, well, at least not yet, Tolkien's invention of the Elvish language and the Mordor language and all the stuff that goes with that. It's not just the style of Tolkien. You have to get all those nuances and all those subtleties into it. There's a few years back when I was writing for the World News Center, we did a weekly radio show on Fox here in Chicago, WBIG, and did a thing on artificial intelligence writing. And one guy tried to get artificial intelligence to write an episode of Game of Thrones. It was painful to read. It's so bad.
Worse than last season?
It actually made the last season seem sensible. It's like, bleak, my bandicoot, shall I go down and do that? It's like, because it's just grabbing words, and because it didn't have.
Was it Monty Python?
No, it wasn't quite that funny. But it was just, Chatbox needs structure to words, or any of these things, they require structure to words. And when you get into something like Game of Thrones, you get into some of the stuff like I write, words don't mean the same things that they meant otherwise. And if you read the show or you watch the show, it means everything makes sense to you because it's in context. But these AIs, they don't understand context, not really. Other than unless it's, blue goes with the blue wall. It has to be apples to apples. Once you get outside of that, you get into some interesting, bad places. And I'll send you a link to it when we get off the air. I'll send you a link to it because it's got all the stuff up there where you can read the original Game of Thrones thing and what this thing came up with, and your head will spin. It's like, no, don't do that ever. Never do that.
Okay. All right. Who is Bob?
Bob, Sins of the Sun. My Bob.
Yeah.
Bob is the son of Death, and oh boy, we're getting into a link. All right, Bob is the son of Death, and he wants to be a superhero in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And his sister, who's like a real big goody and wants to play by the rules, she's the daughter of Death, thinks that's a bad idea. And Death, of course, Dad thinks it's a horrible idea. I just wanted to have some fun with the whole idea of death. I mean, because people are always like, there's one death, and it goes around the whole universe and takes everybody to the afterlife, and that's really nice. I mean, when you think about it, death comes to your house and goes, hey, Specs, it's time to go. Let's go together. You're not alone. I'm going to be there with you. That's kind of cool. You're not being left alone. There's that one last helping hand to get you to where you need to go. That is cool. But obviously, there's no way that's like Santa Claus. How does he get everywhere all the time, all at once? Which, by the way, everywhere all the time, everywhere all at once. That movie was great. I like that.
Yeah, everybody talk about that. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, please go see it. It's a complete. Make sure you get a puff. Take a toke or a drink and sit back and just enjoy this thing. It's a feast, man. It's a feast.
Okay.
I'm a tequila guy. My wife's a marijuana girl. But either way,
hey, I'm same thing. Same thing.
You're
I
tequila?
love tequila. Yeah.
Then you and I can part.
Don Julio. I love it.
I'm more of a Jose Cuervo Silver, but
okay, yeah, okay. I do all of it, but
yeah,
I fell in love with Don Julio.
And I can't blame you. I like it. I just happen to prefer this. But anyway, it's a great movie. But my point is, Bob is this character. It's kind of this weird supernatural thing. I actually have a version of the Pater Noster, which is the Latin version of the Our Father prayer that ends issue 1. That's coming out this summer. It's a very unusual book, and it was a lot of fun to write because I wanted to say Death can't handle all this stuff, and so how does Death get the people the helpers he needs? And in this case, he finds women who have a death fetish, and he gets them pregnant, and then they have his kids, and he uses the kids to grow and become Death in their neighborhoods, and they get bonuses out of it. They get a really long life, But yeah, so Bob is the son of Death, lives in Chicago. It's an interesting book. It's an interesting book. My wife.
It sounds like it.
My wife read the script. She looked at me for a long time, and now she loves it. But there was that moment like, boy, what's wrong with you?
That's funny. All right. So what is a Legends Parable?
Legends Parallel.
Yeah, my handwriting's terrible.
That Legends Parallel. This is the granddaddy that started them all. This is the book Brian and I worked on together. We started working on it in December of 2015. And we were actually being hired by another guy to put it together. And that guy, he owed me like $4,000 or $5,000 for all the work I'd done. He sent me a $10 PayPal. And wow. I was like, yeah. So I sent it back to him. I mean, even though I could have used the $10 to buy a drink or something, I just sent it back to him. And Brian and I got to talking with a couple other people. We were Sherry Vanilla Hardy and Dorothy Jean and Leslie Taylor hadn't come aboard yet. Mm-hmm. But we got to talking about it, and we said, you know what? We throw out everything this other guy did or wanted to do. And what do we got left? We got the stuff that I created and Sherry created and Brian created and Dorothy's created. And since we weren't paid for it, nobody owned it. Mm-hmm. So we put it together. And Dorothy and I threw a bunch of ideas back together. Dorothy, by the way, she's a Haitian activist who lives in Miami right now. Wonderful woman. Absolutely wonderful. If you run across her online, become her friend. She's a really lovely lady. But so she and I threw a bunch of ideas back and forth together, and we started putting things together, and we came up with Legends Parallel. And we ran it by Brian, and he said, yes, he would fund it. He's like, let's make this happen. And one thing led to another, and the first time it came out in June of 2016. And we've done some primping for it on the internet, like, hey, it's coming out, this, that, and the other thing. And we were a little surprised how much people liked it. Because it's a little more mature than your traditional comic book. We joke that it's got boobs, but it's also got a lot of violence, and it's got a lot of political stuff in it. And you start reading reviews, and people got it. That was the thing that we were worried about. No one would get it. They would take a look at a boob and go, "Oh, boobs!" Can't have that in America, and especially because we've got lesbian boobs, so whatever. But in fact, that's one of my favorite things. About a year after it came out, we were getting ready to work on issue 2. And this girl at the library, she's 17, and she looked at me and she goes, I read your comic. And I went, oh, okay. And she goes, I love it. It's got lesbian boobs, just like mine. I said, okay, now I learned something about you. Thank you for sharing. But yeah, it's resonated. It's really got a nice little cult following. Pandemic screwed us up because we had ordered a bunch of copies to start selling in 2020 at convention. So we had closets full of this stuff. And of course, we couldn't take it anywhere. So we had to kind of stop and take a year and a half to sell all this stuff, almost 2 years to, finally get everything sold. And now we're back on our feet and we're coming back to do more. But It's comic. I got a great review in England on Sci-Fi Comic Nexus. Zach Weber gave it like 5 out of 5 stars. You know, because of the politics and because of the way it goes. He's like, yeah, it's got boobs and stuff, but he goes, it's got some harsh things. There's a whole issue dedicated to a universe. It's a multiverse thing. Mm-hmm. And so in one of the multiverses, Africa never got colonized. Instead, Africa colonized the world. So white people are living in the ghettos, and white people they call them the honks. They want to get rid of them. You know, they don't want them in their time. And it's brutal. It's very difficult to read. But I wanted it to be difficult to read because I wanted people to face racism honestly. You know, I want them to look at it honestly. And the only way to do that sometimes is hit people in the head with a hammer. But by the same token, I wanted to give the other people a reason to be afraid. You know, it takes one little thing, you make it into a big thing, but you're only got one little thing. And so it's a difficult read for some people. And it was meant to be a difficult read. And it was meant to be a little more challenging. And it's worked out that way. And people really get it. And when we started selling them up at Motor City Black Age of Comics, I was afraid these guys were going to laugh me out of the room. But they love it. You know, we sell T-shirts and stuff like that. But people got it. And I think that's the highest compliment you get, is that people get what you're trying to get. They get your point. You know, and we actually, there's a teacher down at Southern Illinois University, because we actually used real math to come up with the multiverse. It wasn't just like, hey, imagine this. No, we used a guy's actual calculations to how a multiverse would work, and included them in issue 1 of the comic because we're fun that way. And so there's a lady at Southern Illinois University who uses it for introduction to particle physics classes, to have the kids, they read that comic. It's like, this is how it could work. This is the way that would logically work. Like, forget about what you saw on DC or Marvel. This is the way it would logically work. And so that's kind of cool. The people get it and they understand it. And they you know, the running, the tagline for it is for people who think, you know, physics, or people who think people who think the multiverse isn't violent or sexy enough, we fix that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it.
All right. So what's one of Marcie's Marvels?
Ooh, Marcie's Marvels. That's a project near and dear to my heart. A girl named Marcy Gerald. She passed away a couple of years ago. She's a teenager. She was bullied, sexually harassed. She'd been through a whole bunch of stuff, and she finally took her own life. She couldn't take it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's a depressing way to start a show here. I'm sorry about that, but her mom decided to. She wanted something. She wanted something in memory of her daughter, a positive memory. And so I wrote Marcie's Marvels, and it's about Marcy, and she helps keep kids away from other abusers, keeps them away from bullies, keeps them away from any harm that would come to a kid her age, you know, a teenage girl her age. We get a little dark with it. We make sure we mark it T for teen, so little kids don't read it. It has been incredibly well received. In fact, I was on one of those chat rooms where you go to as a film creator. And I was in one of those chat rooms talking to somebody, and somebody said, "Oh, you're the guy who did Marcie's Marvels." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "I love it. My daughter loves it. And we're going back and forth about it, and blah blah blah." And she's like, "I can't wait to get enough of them so I can, you know, take it to my boss." And I said, "What do you do?" She goes, "Well, I'm one of the networks. I'm one of the acquisition directors for Netflix." Like, oh, hi, how are you? My name is. Don't mind me. I'm just going to be a puddle of glue over here. But it's a wonderful book. Issue number 2 is coming out real soon. We found this guy in the Philippines, Echo Parafian, to do the art, and he's just been a joy to work with. He's one of those guys. He sends you the pencils. You talk about. He's there with you every step of the way, so it makes it easy to work with. But it's a book we're trying to make. We want kids to feel better about themselves. We want kids to understand you can talk to someone. There's a place to go. I don't want it to all be top-down solutions. I don't want it to all be bottom-up. There are ways to deal with things. And yeah, it's a superhero comic, but it's super like Legends Parallel. It's a superhero comic with a message, and it's a superhero comic to try and help people. In this case, trying to help kids look out for themselves. You know, don't fall for the traps. Don't fall for the gruff. Don't let other people put you down. And I'm really proud of it, and I'm glad it's gotten such a good response. It sold a ton. Elizabeth Gerald, she's Marcy's mom. She put all this together, and she's the one who's made sure people have it. She makes sure there's copies available at different places. It's a solid seller. It's a real pleasure, and it's an honor to be involved with something like this. So I'm sticking it out. Just did the second issue, and looking forward to doing many more.
It looks really good, man. Artwork looks really good. I'm just glancing through it right here, and it's like panel work really great. You know, it really looks cinematic. So like, I can probably see it really is getting picked up. I got a similar concept, you know, that I'm thinking about doing. I don't know what you call it, a superhero type book, but kind of same thing. Like, uh, you familiar with the Luke Cage show?
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of mixed between the Luke Cage show and Equalizer.
Interesting. Okay, I wouldn't put those two together. I like that.
Yeah. So
wait a minute. Old school Equalizer, or the new Queen Latifah Equalizer?
What's old school?
It's an old white guy who wears a trench coat and beats the crap out of people.
I guess same thing, but a tattoo artist, you know, she works in tattoo artist instead of being a barbershop like Luke Cage, and I guess she would have powers or supernatural stuff. I don't know if it's gonna be powers or supernatural. But
that'd be cool. You tattoo something on someone, and then it comes to life at night and eats them. Oh, I like that.
No, it's more like her tat like for some kind of ink or something. I don't know what I'm gonna come up with, but her tattoos are her family members that died or some kind of way, so they represent certain things. So I don't know if they're gonna be actual like possessions or just people in the background talking to her. So you got different personalities, you know, helping her guide the way. But essentially, people around the town would know she has these powers. So they'd be like, hey, you know, so and so has been getting beaten up by her husband lately. Then she came to work. Can you go over there and check on her? Something like that, you know.
I like that.
She like, all right, she'll go over there. You know, she would handle the situation.
I like that because that's more neighborhood. That's, you know, even with Legends Parallel, we got the multiverse and everything, but I keep trying to keep it grounded. And here's the family. Because I get so tired of, what was that a few years ago? Batman got special powers. He became a god on the throne. I'm like, no.
Yeah, the Morbius chair.
Yeah, the Morbius chair. It's like, you know, no, not everything needs to be so super powered. Not everything. Heroes can. That's why I always like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He was taking care of his neighborhood, you know. I know in the movies they made it all this big stuff, but they seem to be getting back to it.
Yeah, I think with a reboot or whatever they're doing, phase 5, 6, 7, whatever Disney's doing, I think that's what they're gonna do now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cooler because that's what Spidey is. Spidey's the local neighborhood guy. Batman used to be the Batman of Gotham. Now he's like Batman of the world, and he's doing all things. Oh,
man. Yeah, he got a Batman LLC, Batman Incorporated. You know. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's what more of my books are more focused on neighborhood stuff because I mean, am I into that stuff? Yeah, I'm not really into like the bigger stuff, like all around the world stuff. Like, if I would do something all around the world, it'd probably be something like a Captain Planet type of deal or something like that. But like, I don't know if my brain can't fathom, you know, a superhero being all around the world or somebody dealing with all around the world problems. Because like this is what I see, this is what I'm around. So I can do probably the United States or something, but like, oh, he got to go stop freaking terrorists in freaking Iran. Why? I mean, if I was, my thing is, I haven't submitted the term yet, and other people probably have. It's called anti-hero. So my best example of anti-hero is Negan from The Walking Dead. So like, yes, you see him as a villain, but if the story started with Negan, Rick would have been the villain.
Right.
So with that being said about the terrorists, like I could be Iranian and be over there, and I think the U.S. coming over here is a villain. So like, you can't write about it, like, because
have you read my book?
No, I haven't.
My book Splice. It has a whole section about an imam in the Middle East, and his whole thing is he shows how the Americans are the terrorists and how he's the good guy. And people who've read the book get very uncomfortable with that because it hits a little close to home. You don't want to think that way. You don't want to flip things over that way. But I like that, by the way. You know, just because I did it doesn't mean you can't do it because you're going to come at it from a whole different way. And that's the beauty of the thing. You know, success is not pie. There's enough for everybody. And it's just like the idea take it and make it your own. You know, superheroes. That's nenever been done before. You know?
Yeah. I made a post about that recently. People jumped all down my neck about it. I was like, because really, I want to make a Captain America type character, so I wanted to know who else had made one. You know, I was like, so people made Spider-Man, Superman, Batman type of archetypes in their books. How many people made Captain America? And people got on there like, stop copying the big two. We don't want that. American ideals, this and third. I was like, I don't care nothing about that. I'm just asking who made, like, people buy superhero books in America. That's what people buy. And the people like superheroes, you know. And because I want to make a Captain America character like a farm boy type guy, or just like this regular blue collar parents work factories and this and third. And he's a typical, you know, I guess typical white guy, or what, this hardworking white guy. Versus and that goes to the military or whatever, just like that, so people can relate to that character. Versus Captain America, somebody's born in 1920 that might still be kind of racist, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, I saw the news today. I think that's still going on. Excuse me.
But yeah, just somebody like in general, because like I'm surprised, you know, Marvel hasn't revamped Captain America like they revamped, you know, the Punisher or Wolverine. You know, every time they bring it back, because like the amount of wars Wolverine and Punisher don't fought, you know, they keep getting recon. I'm surprised they haven't done that with Captain America yet. They keep making him 1940, 1920, wherever he's from, you know.
Yeah, I think it's probably because they brought in the Falcon to become the new Captain America, and that was their way of retconning that. Which, by the way, I'm a big fan. I love the TV show. I love the comic version of it. I thought it was a fresh take on the character. So if that's their way of doing it, cool. So be it. But you're right. Nobody does much with Captain America. There's one character like he's always pulled out of the ice. He's always fighting the Red Skull and Nazis, and you know he's always trying to figure out who won the Brooklyn Dodgers baseball game in 1946.
Yeah,
and it's
the best thing that I've seen and how Marvel should have handled it was the Soldier Boy thing. You've watched The Boys?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
So how he came back with like, two guys kissing, like all stuff like that. Like that's how Steve Rogers is supposed to act, because in World War II, none of that was going on.
Oh, I don't know about that. They just
no, it wasn't open. Like it wasn't
open.
Yeah, like walking out, like Soldier Boy scene, walking down the street, you know, a black guy and a white guy doing like none of that's going on. I mean, it was going on, but you know, it's not going. You know,
right.
They would back then. They could probably get some sticks, you know, and beat them because of it or something. I don't know. But yeah, just like stuff like that. I want to. That's more realistic to me. You know,
I agree.
I think Disney are going more towards that with the whole joke about was Steve Rogers a virgin or not. You know,
and She-Hulk, that was funny.
Yeah, because that's the real thing. Just because he was a nerd or whatever, straight out of high school, went to the military, then get frozen in the ice.
Yeah, you know, when did he have any downtime in there? So yeah.
Then as soon as he get unfrozen, he has to join the freaking Avengers for like 12 years, then get killed.
Yeah, or get shot back in time and come back.
Yeah, when he never had a birthday party, you know. Yeah, but well, that's in that segment. You know, we drug that out pretty long, but we got a lot of things, you know, touched on in the right way.
Yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun.
So last segment, you know, I'm gonna close out with one question. You know, it's called Digging the Crates. You know,
okay.
Now a two-parter. You know, music lovers, they'll dig in the crates and find that vinyl, that CD they love and whatnot. And comic book lovers, they do the same thing, finding that one comic, you know, that Spider-Man comic in your case, you know, that you grew up with. You want to find that in the boxes. And but this segment is this question is something people can take with them from this interview about you. Kind of like a Nobel Prize question or something like that. So
okay.
In this regard, I'm gonna go to more than to your music side versus your comic side. So, you made it big, you know, music, you know, or whatnot. It is your farewell, show or whatever, either what city you would like to do that in, or what festival would you like to headline do your farewell, show?
That was easy. I would do it in Chicago.
Chicago.
I mean,
Any
Chicago's
festival or
been
show in general in Chicago, or just the city?
just the city, just to do a show here in the city. This city has been my home. It's been my, it's been my mom. It's been my dad. It's been my family. If I was going to go out, I would go out here. This would be. It'd be silly for me to do it anyplace else. Anyplace else, it's a money grab. If I do it here, I'd probably do it here and do it for free. Just open the doors, come on in. That probably isn't rational to do if I'm as big and successful as you say, but I would still do something like that because I would just want it to be fun. I would just want it to be, for the people, by the people kind of thing. Yeah, I do love this city, and I love all they have stuff. I love the diversity here, and so yeah, it would be something I would give if I was going to do that. I would give back and make sure it was something for here.
All right, that's cool, man. That's cool, man. But hey, that's all I got for you, man. It was a great show. Tell the people where they can find your books or follow you along your journey and to support you in any way they see fit.
This one's easy. Just go to BillMcscifi.com. There's a really lovely menu up. You've got really great front end graphic that I've used. And then once you get past that, the pages are really laid out. You want to look at my novels, you want to look at short stories, you want to look at comics, you want to buy merchandise. I sell great merchandise, everything from onesies for babies to t-shirts and bathrobes. So
okay,
if you want something, we've got it. And my bio's up there, and you can contact me. And my blogs are up there, which covers several years worth of newsletters that you can read. It's all up there, BillMcscifi.com.
Cool. Man, and once again, man, thanks for coming on, man. Really enjoyed it, and maybe next time I had a view up here with me, so us two talking. But,
all right, my friends, Specs. Thank you very much.
No problem, man.
Bye.
So yeah, my co-host, The View, he had to deal with that shootout that happened, but we still had our guest, Bill Mcscifi. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. Check out his website at Bill Mcscifi. Check out all his works. Good dude. And his podcast is a great podcast as well. And you want to check out my co-host books, whenever he shows up, go to legacytheview.com, and you can check out him and all his adventures through social media at Legacy The View. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me at SPECKS706. And you want to be on the show, just contact us at chillinthegreenbox@gmail.com and on social media. And I'm out.